Should I be congratulating you on coming second tonight, your party?
Well, it's a dramatic surge, isn't it? I mean, we got 3.6% here in the general election. It's been a minimum period for this election to take place. And actually, on the votes cast today, we're first. Where we're not first, of course, is on the postal votes. And so the Lib Dem strategy of getting this out of the way was entirely right from their perspective. But look, we're delighted. It's a huge, huge step forward for our party.
So let me just get this right. You are pretty sure that you have come second?
Very sure that we've come second. I think the results are going to be fairly shortly. I think the Lib Dems will be about 1,000 votes ahead of us. As I say, we just could not catch up with the deficit that we had on the postal vote. But look, you know, no sour grapes from me. We are delighted. This is massive progress for us. And of course, you know, if the Conservatives hadn't split our vote, we'd have won, wouldn't we?
Do you have a sense of how many votes you might be ahead of the Conservatives?
I'm told a couple of thousand.
A couple of thousand?
You know, a couple of thousand, a reasonably comfortable margin. And everyone's saying to me, well, Nigel, you know, you've really hurt the Conservatives here. Do you know what? We haven't. About a third of the votes that came to us came from the Conservatives. We took votes from Labour, we took votes from Lib Dems, and really interestingly, we took a big chunk of our votes from people who haven't bothered to vote for anybody for the last 20 years. And that's the really pleasing thing from a UKIP perspective. We've drawn these votes from across the board.
Now, the candidates, I'm told, have been called to the front of the stage, but I'm also told the announcement's not exactly imminent, so I'd like to stay with you, Mr. Farage. We're just looking at the stage at the moment. We can see the Labour candidate, Mr. O'Farrell, there. Nigel Farage, your candidate in Eastleigh said that even if you had stood, you wouldn't have done any better than her. What do you say to that?
I agree. I absolutely agree. She was a great candidate. She had my 100% support. She had the support of the party. She's been an absolute credit to us. She's behaved with real dignity during this by-election. At times, the battle between the coalition partners has been pretty bloody and unpleasant, and she's risen above it all and concentrated and focused on policy and connecting with the public, and she's done an extremely good job.
Do you see a future leadership challenge there?
Well, you never know. I mean, you know, I've always said if someone better than me comes along, they're welcome to it.
Now, Diane James used to be a Tory. She quit the Tories because David Cameron, she said David Cameron was patronising to women. Now, Marta Anderson, who's left you to join the Tories, says that you're a Stalinist dictator and anti-women. So who do you think is more sexist, yourself or David Cameron?
Well, I have to say, in response to the jibe from Marta Andreasen that I'm anti-women. If only that were true, my whole life would have been just so much simpler.
What are you going to do for an encore? I don't mean after that quip. I mean, what are you going to do as an encore, assuming you have come a decent second tonight and you're ahead of the Tories?
Yeah.
What's next, Mr. Farage?
Yeah. I'll tell you what's next, and that is May the 2nd, the English County Council elections. It is my intention for us to put 2,000 candidates in the field right across England. In counties like this in Hampshire, we already have a full slate of candidates. And I think, you know, you'll find out on the night of May the 2nd that what happened here in Eastleigh was not a freak result. You know, something is changing. People are sick and tired of having three social democrat parties that are frankly indistinguishable from each other, and we're the party prepared to talk about and confront difficult, tough issues that everybody else wants to simply brush under the carpet.
What was it that got you the surge? What was it? What issues got you the surge?
I think that, I mean, here we are with Southampton just down the road. We were told back in 2004 by the Labour government that open-door migration to Poland and other parts of Eastern Europe would lead to an increase of up to 15,000 a year. There are 30,000 in Southampton alone. And certainly there is a chronic shortage here of social housing. Young people, school leavers, are finding getting jobs incredibly difficult. And the idea that we should open our doors to 29 million more people next year from Romania and Bulgaria, what people are saying on my doorstep is enough's enough. You know, it's all well and good to have a sensible, balanced migration policy, but the penny's beginning to drop. And, you know, Chuka says, well, we're in the EU, and therefore we have to have free movement of peoples. But the point really is this. If you want to control your borders, if you want to have a managed migration policy, you cannot remain members of the European Union. And my prediction is that over the next year or two, as the European debate gathers pace in this country, the issue of immigration and border controls will become the absolute key to the whole thing.
Well, the last Labour government clearly got the predictions wrong as to how many immigrants would come from Eastern Europe, but it would be pretty hard to argue that Eastleigh has been swamped by any outsiders, would it not?
No, as I say, there are something like 30,000 people from Eastern Europe living in this fairly immediate vicinity.
Yeah, but you're in Eastleigh, that's Southampton, that's down the road.
Well, Southampton's down the road, but I can assure you that many people in Eastleigh go to Southampton to seek work. That is the big centre of work for people in this constituency, and certainly in the unskilled labour market we have a dramatic oversupply. Now, this may be good for the big employer that can take people on the minimum wage, but if it's putting young British people out of work, it is not a net benefit to the British economy, either economically or socially.
All right, Mr. Farage, we've just understand that we're going to get the result in about 5 minutes, and I know that your candidate doesn't think you could have done any better if you had stood, but you are now you are UKIP's national figure. You have the recognition. When you hear this result, and maybe she's lost by only 1,000 or so, would there not be a little nod in your head thinking, God, if only I had stood, we could have won this constituency?
No, what I'll be thinking two things. Firstly, well done, Diane James. It's been a fantastic surge for UKIP. And secondly, I'll be thinking that I will go on and I will lead this party as a candidate in the European elections in June of next year, with the intention that we come first nationally in those elections and cause an earthquake in British politics. And I could not have done that if I had stood in this election and been successful.
I mean, well, you'll have to watch your back as well.
I'll be watching, don't you worry.
Nigel Farage, we'll let you go for the announcement of the count. Simon Hughes, it's interesting, though, that in a